Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the 2016 NASCAR DFS season for the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. I'm Sean Big Papa Williams.
I'm Jamie the Learjet Lear.
And we have a special guest for you this week, with it being the Super Bowl of Motor Speedway at the Daytona 500. We've got a special guest, fan of the show and friend, Adrian Woodruff, joining us today. Say hi to everybody, Adrian.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. I've been a fan of the show for a long time. I'm excited to help you guys take down some DFS leagues this week.
Well, hopefully we can all take down some GFS money this week. But before we get into the race breakdown, like usual, Lear's going to have the track breakdown, and we'll get into our picks like usual. But before we get there, we just, because this is the first race of the season, and we know we've got some new viewers this week, we wanted to talk specifically about a couple of the things that you need to know in DFS NASCAR. First of all, it's one of the easiest sports to play out there, but it's one of the hardest sports to play well. Basically, you have to pick 6 drivers under a $50,000 salary cap on DraftKings. You can play up from 25 cents all the way up to $1,000+ on a tournament. And the races are scored. Your drivers earn points in one of 4 ways. First of all, where your driver finishes. Second of all, how many laps your driver leads. They get bonus points for those. They get bonus points for the fastest lap if they're the fastest car on the track. And they get points for the place differential. So in other words, wherever they started, wherever they finish, they get points for the difference, positive or minus, for that stat. It's really easy. It's a lot of fun, and all of us have had various levels of success playing DFS. But before we get into the breakdown, I just want to ask you guys, and we'll start off with Adrian since he's the new guest. Adrian, what is the one thing you learned from DFS last year, like playing DFS NASCAR, that you want to share with our viewers?
Probably first off, that you think you have a lock-in. It's probably the pump play for the day. But no, seriously, I think that the big strategy for me is you pick a driver that starts closest to the back of the pack. With that, gives them more potential to gain positions towards the end of the race. If you pick a driver that starts 30th, they have way more potential to gain you points than a driver that's starting, say, 6th or 7th. That's probably the biggest thing that I look at when I'm building my lineup.
I couldn't agree more.
As far as on top of that, Adrian, any strategy as far as like a low stem guy, as far as price point guys that don't normally finish up higher? Or are you always looking out for somebody that maybe has a bad qualifying run and basically just gets put back in the pack?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of guys like that this week that I'm looking at that we'll get to later. Yeah. But definitely you want to look at you might have elite drivers that are starting farther back in the field, or you could have a driver like say a Landon Castle or a Matt DiBenedetto who maybe don't get the run they want in qualifying, and they may start farther back, but they're going to help you be able to pay up for those big guys because they're starting so far back that they can gain you, and you really don't need but 20, 25 to really make what you need.
So, Lear, what's the one thing you learned last year from NASCAR DFS that you want to share with everybody?
I think the biggest learning curve for me was, deciding what kind of strategy that you're going to take, depending on which, type of racetrack that we're at. Obviously with the Sprint Cup circuit, we've got so many different tracks with so many different variations when it comes to track size. Laps run, that's a huge part into it, based on, laps led, getting points that way. But also, what type of track it is, as far as like a tri-oval or short track, like Bristol, one of those different types of tracks. But, going with that studs, duds, lineup, or, taking kind of the middle tier kind of guys. But there's definitely a strategy in every single type of race that we face, here in each week that we, put a DFS NASCAR lineup together. It's just trying to find that right balance of, the high-end guys and then the lower tier guys, the guys that, you can get great value for, that are going to show up and, give you that 20, 25 point, performance that you need to make that difference between, getting 10th versus getting, first place, which could be all of 1 or 2 points or even less than that. So,
yep. And I think that's a perfect segue into the thing I learned last year in NASCAR DFS that you guys haven't touched on. And that's patience and understanding about DFS NASCAR. you can be in the lead, you can be winning a lot of money, and the simplest thing that's out of your control can happen. And as a DFS player, it's important to not take that personally and not let that affect the way you play. And it's so important to get back on the horse and keep following up, right, and keep playing. And I mean, there were several instances with, like, we had a lug nut not get on a tire that cost me money. We had guys run out of gas, wrecks, an intentional wreck. Like, those kinds of things happen in NASCAR. It's a variant sport in that aspect, but it's a lot of fun at the same time. And there's a lot of money to be won, especially if you incorporate all these things that we learned last year. Hopefully we can keep you then from having to learn them yourself. Well,
sure. I still have a personal grudge against Matt Kenseth for last year, but
yeah,
I'll try to let that dissipate.
Being that cost us the seat at the live final in Miami, yes, that he's on my naughty list.
And I'd say another thing that you can watch with Daily Fantasy NASCAR is while you're watching the race, it's not like other sports where you can keep checking your DraftKings app or things like that and think that you're doing well. It doesn't mean anything. You check it in the middle of the race. Forget about checking your lineup during that. It doesn't mean anything.
It really doesn't. Just know who your drivers are and root for them to do the best they can. Because all it takes is a second of pit stops and you go from winning a lot of money to losing a lot of money. But with that said, I think it's time to get into this week's action at the Daytona 500. Lear, that means it's time for you to give us the track breakdown, buddy. What's going on this week?
All right, boys. It is. I can't even put into words how happy I am that NASCAR is back. And, it's unlike any other sport out there that we've got in America. NASCAR puts their Super Bowl at the beginning of the season, just to start that season off on the right track. And you can't do much better than restrictor plate racing at Daytona. That's probably got the richest history in NASCAR out of any track on the circuit. So, but Daytona 500, it's coming from Daytona Beach, Florida, at Daytona International Speedway. Track is 2.5 miles in length. We're going to be running 200 laps to complete the 500 miles. It is a tri-oval track. And as far as the degrees, they range from 31 degrees on the turns and then 18 degrees on the tri-oval. Multiple groups here with up to 3 wide racing. Majority will be, 2 wide. There is going to be some separation there eventually, when this race plays out. And this is American racing at its finest, boys. This track opened up in 1959 with construction beginning in 1957 from Mr. France Sr. This is basically, like I said, NASCAR Super Bowl. So the key here is to basically avoid the big one, because eventually it's going to happen. It's just, just praying and crossing your fingers that your driver is not one of the people that's involved in it. As far as the keys here, obviously staying up front and keeping out of that middle pack is going to be key for your driver. The race will be Sunday, February 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Race will be exciting, obviously with the restrictor aspect of it. Basically what that means for those people that don't know, it's basically slowing the cars down as far as their air intake. Basically packing them up. It's going to be a lot of drafting, a lot of bumper to bumper, over 200 miles an hour, and it doesn't get any better, boys, honestly.
I know. I'm super excited about this race.
As far as the weather goes for Sunday, it's going to be very nice. It's going to be 74 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 0, and I do repeat, 0% chance of precipitation, with winds south-southeast at 7 miles per hour. So, but it is Florida, I will say that. So you can't always take the weatherman's prediction, to heart. So you never know, there could be that one cloud that comes in, but praying for no rain.
Right on. Sounds great. I think that's a great track breakdown, and that brings us into the fun part, the real fun parts of the show. We're going to start off with the Burning Rubber segment.
Burning Rubber, baby!
All right, boys. Let's start off with Burning Rubber, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with the picks. I'm going to go with Joey Logano this week. Joey Bag of Donuts at 9,600 for who he is and how he runs and how well his car is running and how good that equipment is. He's underpriced this week. With 4 other drivers priced higher than him, it's criminal in my opinion. like he has actually statistically the best track history of any driver on it in his limited appearances here at Daytona. I think that you can start a lineup here and be different than what a majority of the field is going to do, which is going to be on Junior. And I'm sure we have people talking about that in a little bit. Guys, I think Joey's going to go underlooked and be way underowned, and that's really what's making him appealing to me in this race. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like most people are going to be on Junior because everyone's talking about how fast that car is, and obviously that car has history at restrictor plate tracks. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people are not going to be on Logano. Maybe even like a Penske stack could work this week.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think it would be a nice contrarian stack. There, you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, Penske doesn't usually have very good, track history when it comes to, the big restrictor plate racing tracks. But Logano, the guy, had a great season last year. He's definitely stepped up his game. And he's starting in the 5th spot, so he's going to be up front, running with that pack up front to start off the race. So he's definitely going to have a good opportunity to lead some laps. So I think it's a good pick, but I'm definitely not going to be on the Logano train myself. But good luck to you, Papa.
Yeah, no, like my argument here is that like that top 5 pack of cars is going to like separate. I really truly believe that. And it's just trying to pick one of them out of there. I'd rather be. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm going to have plenty of Dale Jr. lineups, but I want to be on an island with other drivers of equal caliber that I don't think most of the field is going to be on, and that's why I'm recommending Logano.
Yeah, if you're making multiple lineups, you have to go contrarian in some ways, and Logano's a great contrarian play.
Yeah, the other crazy part too is last year, 2015, in the Daytona 500, he started 5th and he won the race. So Papa's going for the back-to-back. I like it.
Yeah, he is starting 5th this week, so we'll see.
All right. Adrian, we already talked about him a little bit, and Lear got all that track information in, so let's get to you. Who's your pick to burn some rubber this week?
It's just this guy by the name of Dale Earnhardt Jr. I don't see how you can't lock him into your lineups this week. I mean, he's just so fast. He's a 2-time Daytona 500 winner. His chassis that he's running this week, they've given it the nickname Amelia because Dale likes this car so much. This car has ran in 5 races with finishes of first, second, and third. I don't know how it gets much better. In 2014 at the restrictor plate tracks, Dale Jr. finished 3rd, first, and second, which is pretty impressive to say the least. The consistency around the garage is everyone saying watch out for the 88 car. Everyone sees the speed that he has this week, and they're all kind of fearing that racing against him on Sunday, to be honest. And he should gain you plenty of lap sled points. He's not starting near the back, so you're going to have to rely on him to get you those lap sled. But, he's known as the Pied Piper of Daytona, so I don't see how he doesn't get you those lap sled.
Lear, you got anything down there?
Yeah, I definitely obviously like Dale Earnhardt Jr. this week as well. Obviously the history here with the family, the Earnhardt name. But the other thing is, too, he's going to be the most expensive guy. And obviously, we've already kind of touched on the point. But, as far as the contrarian aspect, I don't know. What do you guys think as far as an ownerage percentage of Dale Earnhardt Jr. this week?
Well, I'd say it's going to be at least 55% in the big GPPs.
Yeah, for the shootout one, it was 58% is what he was owned. And here's the thing, and this is the ultimate question with Dale. The ultimate thing you have to do when you're setting up a lineup is you have to decide: do I Dale? Do I not Dale? And if I'm not Daling, I'm basically betting against like the most sure thing. But the purpose of me doing so is that if he gets caught up in a wreck or if something happens with that car, automatically 58% of the field dies. Yeah. Right?
And for him to meet value, he's going to have to lead laps because he's starting 3rd. If he finishes 3rd, he's not going to meet value at all.
No. Right. But let's be honest, dude. As fast as that car is and as good as he looked, he will take the lead in lap 1. And,
I agree more.
And he will probably lead almost all of the 200 laps unless something happens. Which is why, I'm at least going 50% on Junior this week, like in my
maybe
lineup.
75%.
You see, that's what I really want to do. I want to try to get over the ownership percentage and go 75. Yeah, I really do. But
as far as my strategy on this week, boys, heads up, I mean, 100%, I'm rolling Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the GPPs that we're going to be entering, I'm going to probably sprinkle them in maybe 35%, just because, I mean, I love Dale, but I'm trying to not get on the same train as everybody else.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And with that, Lear, who is your guy to burn some rubber this week?
My burning rubber pick this week is one Kyle Rowdy Busch. In 2015, Rowdy was one of the best drivers on the circuit after recovering from his injury that he sustained. He had the most wins, obviously, in that time period after he came back. As far as Daytona goes, Kyle has only won race back in 2008. He's only had one win under his belt. Kyle's last 4 races here at the Daytona, he started 1st, 37th, 39th, and 13th, with finishes of 12th, 19th, 28th, and 17th. And with him being a Joe Gibbs Racing, as far as that goes, I mean, they're all fast as far as this week is concerned, and especially at this track. And Kyle won the dual race last night as well. So he's got a little momentum going into Sunday, which I think that'll help him out as well. And he's, as far as, Daytona, he's raced here 21 times. He's got 12 top 10 finishes. His average starting position is 19th with an average finish of 15th. And since being at the Gibbs number 18, he started twice from the 4th spot, which he's, will do this week. He's either had an engine problem or he's been in a crash. So as far as that goes, I think it's time that it turns itself around and he basically comes out on the winning end this week. He's definitely my pick to take it home. As far as that goes, last time that he won, he led 88 laps of the 200 before that happened. And this week, he's kind of expensive. He's $9,100, which, I feel is based on the rest of the drivers that we have available to us. He's a pretty good, as far as the pricing goes, pretty good value for who he is and what he's done. He's been a highly owned driver in the past. He probably will be highly owned again this week too, just because of his price point being a little bit lower. But that's not going to deter me from definitely putting him on majority of all the lineups that I have. So I'm definitely rolling with old Kyle Busch this week because I just feel that he's got a great opportunity to take it home. And what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, dude, I think it's all the JGR cars. Like they all look good, dude. Like I don't have a problem if you're not wanting to be on Junior. I advocated it last year and I advocated it again, especially in this race. Stack JGR team is a good way to go contrarian wise, and you can fit them in nice. And you don't have to, even with the JGR guys being in the 9s, like you don't have to super value buy to get it done this week.
Right.
Like DraftKings adjusted pricing to where you can basically fit together darn near any lineup you want if you're willing to at least punt one. So
yeah.
Yeah, and just to touch on what Lear was saying about Kyle's momentum from winning the dual race, and no one has more momentum than Kyle Busch right now. If you remember, he won our 2015 Sprint Cup Championship, so no one is less feeling the pressure than Kyle Busch. There's no pressure on him right now because he just won a title, and he's feeling better than ever. He got the pins taken out of his leg in the off season, and he's ready to go. It's just Crispy M&M's isn't sponsoring, so I don't know how Rowdy's going to find that crispy edge like he did last year.
We just have to go with the regular M&Ms.
I hate crispy M&Ms.
Regular edge.
Yeah, the regular edge.
All right, guys, I think we got enough for the burner rubber. This year we're going to do something a little bit different. We like your feedback, see if you like it. This year, instead of doubling up the burner rubber, we're going to give you a value segment. And this is because in DFS it's really important to be able to find value. Now, value can come in a couple of different ways. First of all, value can come from just the cost of the guy and where we expect him to finish. As Adrian told you earlier, a lot of the winning lineups last year were people that took low-end drivers that were just going to get them the 25, 30 points because they were able to move up in the back of the pack, and that's what helped you get it done. Sometimes it's a guy that's just criminally underpriced. Sometimes it's a guy that's way underpriced for where he should be. With that said, let's go with Adrian first. Who is your value guy this week, bro?
Before I get to my value play, I just want to just touch on what you were saying just now about how the winning lineup could have some guys in it. Last year, I think the winning lineup for the Daytona 500 had JJ Yeley, Cole Witt, and Josh Wise were all in the winning lineup that took down the GPP last year for the Daytona 500. So keep that in mind when you're building your lineups. But my value play is going to be Casey Mears. He starts 32nd. He said all week that he feels like he has a car that can run with the Hendrick guys and with the Gibbs guys. That team has a lot of confidence. I know they've made a lot of changes in the offseason, and they're really ready to go this season. In the last 4 races at Daytona, he has an average finish of 7.75. In the 2015 Daytona 500, he started 41st and finished 6th. So that's a lot of place differential points, and that's kind of the thing you're going to need from a guy at this price point at 6,500. In the 2014 Daytona 500, he started 28th and finished 10th. And a stat that just blew me away, and you guys are not going to believe this. In the last 10 restrictor plate races that Casey Mears has entered, he's completed all but 3 laps in the last 10.
Wow, dude, that's impressive.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, too, you've already kind of hinted on it, but the crazy part is, a guy of his caliber, he's been racing, for a very long time, and starting in that 32nd spot, automatically you're going to think that, no doubt in my mind, is he going to, can he not finish in the top 25? It just really depends on how the race basically plays itself out. And at its price point, you can't really do much better than Casey Mears.
Yeah, I agree. I love Mears' price point, where he's starting. He's one of the right plays this week, in my opinion. With that said, Lear, who's your right play this week for value?
Well, fellas, as far as my value guy this week, a lot of people will be like, Lear, that's not a value play. But the reason I picked him is because of where it's starting at. And he's just going to be my place differential guy. But I'm going to roll with Ryan Newman. As far as restrictor plate racing, it's not his huge forte. But there's a reason, Newman this week is due to his poor starting position, starting from the 38th spot. So, you can't beat that regardless of price point. But, somebody of his caliber, I don't know how you cannot overlook this guy and put him on your lineup. But his last 4 races at Daytona, and these all do include the Coke Zero, races starting 19th, 20th, 22nd, and 17th, with finishes of 22nd, 24th, 38th, and 8th. So last year he had a good finish there. He's raced a lot here over the years. Like I said, 28 starts under his belt. Over that span of time, his average starting position is 20th with an average finish of 20.5. So he kind of finishes right where he starts. So basically his average finish, like I said, is right there. With this being the case, unless he ends up being a casualty due to one of those big wrecks, which is always a possibility, that by itself, by default, if he's not involved with that, he will get you place differential. With his great value at 7,500, I just can't find a better differential place guy. I definitely for sure feel that he's going to finish within the top 30th, with realistically, maybe in top 20. So I definitely like me some Ryan Newman in that RCR this week.
Yeah, normally I would avoid Newman on a restricted plate racing track, but you're just right, dude. When you factor in his price and how far back he is, I find myself putting him on lineups. You're just going to get positive points out of him, and that's always a great thing in DFS NASCAR. What do you think, Adrian?
I think Paul Menard is actually in that same vein that Ryan is. Paul Menard is 7,300, I believe, on DraftKings. Newman starts 38th. Paul Menard starts 37th. And if you watch the Sprint Unlimited, if the caution wouldn't have came out on the last lap, Paul Menard was probably going to win that race. He had a really fast car, and he's always really consistent at the restricted plate tracks. I think he had a couple top 5s last year in the restricted plate tracks. Newman's a great play, and Paul Menard's the same. I feel like those two guys, you just walk them in forward.
No, I think you guys gave everybody a little bit of bonus coverage there. I couldn't agree with you more. I have both of them on a couple of lineups that I put together. They're just the right plays, in my opinion. And also joining them, in my opinion, is my pick, which for value is Bane. And guys, I knew it wouldn't be the Revenant Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR show if I wasn't encouraging people to hop on the Bane train,
Yes.
especially with my boys like all decked out, Trevor Bates style. Like, look at that! Like, that is awesome. Um, the real story here, in my opinion, is he just always runs good. He's always a good source of points. Like, almost never lets you down. Always in that nice point range. But like, guys, he won his fourth ever NASCAR start. Second ever start. Sorry, here at the Daytona 500, like in 2011. Like, you're not. He's the cheapest champion of this race that you can buy at $6,900, and look at the rest of the drivers in that $6,900 range, like and below. You aren't going to find a driver that is going to give you more of a sure point thing than Trevor Bayne, and that's what I'm looking for, especially when I'm trying to pay up for Junior this week, especially when I'm trying to pay up for the JGR stack. I've got to find a source of value somewhere, and Bayne is that guy. He's starting in the middle of the pack. Like, he should finish right in the middle of the pack. Like, has the opportunity to move up. Like, I just
first.
right. Like, I think he is a safe middle of the road pick for extreme value like this week, and like I'm always going to be on that. Your guys' thoughts?
Just real quick, and sorry to jump in, but as far as this goes, there's nothing better than seeing him win this race and the cat in the hat, get back in the driver, the winning seat. Because as of the last couple of years, Roush Fenway's kind of taken a little bit of the back seat to, some of the other teams out there. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good, rich history in, Roush Fenway racing. And like I said, I guarantee that they put in a lot of work over the off season to get their ducks all in a row. And I wouldn't love anything more than to see Trevor Bayne take it home this week.
I couldn't agree more. Of course, he's my favorite driver, so that's why I'm saying that. But yeah, I think Trevor's a good play. Around that 6,900 price point, you just don't have the caliber of race teams like Roush Fenway Racing.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
They haven't had quite the success of other teams over the past couple years. But when you look at who's backing them and the I guess the pieces they have to put in place to make those cars go fast. If you notice in the dual races, Ricky Stenhouse, all the Roush cars, all drafted in a little pack at the back, because they wanted to save their race cars. They knew how fast their cars were. So I think that Bayne's a great play. If anytime you can get a former winner of the race for that price, I think you can't go wrong.
Right. Well, and that's something that we actually left out of what we learned in NASCAR from DFS. It's important when you're trying to find value to find guys that have the best equipment out there. Because they unlike other sports, like, they're just people that aren't on equal footings in NASCAR, and like the guys with the elite equipment and the guys with the best setups in their cars are all they're just in a pack and in a group above and beyond everyone else.
And they just get more exposure to the particular track, and they can share that information across the different teams. So that definitely benefits them more than a one team racing team like the Wood Brothers or somebody of that caliber. So. But it's definitely, an advantage.
All right. I think that wraps up the value segment for the most part. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully we found you some good sources of value for your lineups this weekend. Now it's time for the guys that are going to the garage. These are the drivers you want to avoid this week, whether it be that they're just mispriced, whether it be that they run crappy on the track, or whether it be just a gut instinct that one of the three of us just don't like that driver this week. And with that said, I think we'll let Adrian start the honors off here.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about going with another driver, but now that I've looked more into it, I think that I have to tell everyone to avoid Chase Elliott. He's starting in the first position. He is a rookie. I know everyone's thinking, oh, he's in Hendrick equipment. Jeff Gordon drove that car last year. But Chase does not have quite the experience racing in that style of drafting with the Cup guys. He's ran in the Xfinity Series, and he's been successful in the Xfinity Series and even in the plate tracks. But he's never, been a very good driver in the restricted plate tracks. And, when you have guys like Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski at the very front of the pack, I just don't think that he can – I mean, if he's starting first, he has so much potential to fall backwards. I really see Chase finishing around 25th if he doesn't get in an accident. So I just think Chase Elliott's one you have to avoid this week.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, as far as that Chase Elliott, I love Chase Elliott in 2016. I really liked him when he was on his restricted racing schedule last year. He did have a lot of good showings based on his price point too, but I couldn't agree with you more in this aspect. I mean, there's just no direction for him to go than to fall back into the field. And, there's just no way that I'm going to be able to put my money on somebody that, one, is a rookie, and two, there's no other direction to go except down the list. So I'm right there with you.
No, it was one of the best quotes from Days of Thunder, right? You run good, but let's see how you do in a pack. And he ran good without cars on the track. I just think he's going to get outdriven. And I think that there's too many people that are going to chase like how fast that car was in qualifying.
Chase the chase.
Chase the chase. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a must fade. Lear, who's your guy that's headed to the garage?
My going to the garage guy this week is another guy by the name of Jamie. I'm going with Jamie McMurray in the number 1 Ganassi vehicle. Mac is very experienced, driver here at Daytona. He's got 26 total starts under his belt at Daytona with 2 wins out of 7 total career wins coming at Daytona. So that's pretty cool. His last 4 races, he started 22nd, 36th, 15th, and 9th with finishes of 14th, 30th, 20th, and 15th. I'm sorry, 27th and 15th. And over his career at Daytona, his average starting position is 21st, with his average finish being 23rd. So he falls back in the pack on average with all the races that he does. So he's led a whopping 39 laps during that whole 26 races that he's had at Daytona, which is obviously very minuscule. So with him starting in the 6th position on Sunday, don't look for him to all of a sudden, go up to the front of the pack and lead for, a long time. And Ganassi Racing just isn't up to par as far as their engineering compared to the other big teams that are out there on the Sprint Cup circuit. So there's only one direction, like we talked about with Chase, but I don't see J-Mac going anywhere but down when it comes to positioning. So his cost is $7,900, so a little pricey. And there's better options out there for that price tag. So my recommendation this week is stay away from J-Mac. But I love you, J-Mac. I'm just sorry to say don't pick it this week.
Any of your thoughts, Andrew?
I love Jamie McMurray, but no, not this week. Just like Jamie said, he's a very good restricted plate driver, but starting 6th, there's just way too much value on the board. And if you're going to pay us $7,900 for a guy like that, you're going to go, I think Denny Hamlin's $8,600. Why would you not pay $700 more for Denny Hamlin? Jamie makes a lot of aggressive moves at the restricted plate tracks, and the casual NASCAR fan probably doesn't notice it. But, if you just look at the way the draft works and the way Jamie likes to side draft and pull certain moves, it could be lap 50 and Jamie will make a move that's going to upset a driver for the next 150 laps. So Jamie's just far too aggressive for me to trust it in the 6th starting spot.
Yeah, I think that's solid analysis. And one of the reasons why those are several of the reasons why I'm fading him for the most part this week. My pick is Truex Jr. this week at $8,400. He is way overpriced. And he just has little to no upside at this track. His average starting position is 18th, and his average finish is 23.2. Now, I realize he's starting 28th, which means he should be able to gain 5 points.
Starting in the rear of the field, though.
Right. But that's where I was getting. Is like because of the wreck, he's now in a backup car, which means he's in the back of the field starting. But on DraftKings, he has to reach the 28th spot before he ever gets you back to 0 points-wise. You will start the race negative if you roster Truex because of him having to switch out cars. I don't think that that's a smart decision here, especially with his race history and where he finishes. Like, out of 22 races here at Daytona, he only has 2 top 10s and 0 top 5s. I'm not going to pay $8,400 to guess on a guy that less than 10% of the time is going to get me a top 10 finish, especially when that guy's starting from the back of the field and has to gain almost 20 spots before he even breaks even to 0. I think it's the easiest fade of all time, and you shouldn't be on Truex Jr. this week. Any thoughts, boys?
I think you can get away with rostering Truex. I don't know if he's as much of a risk as some other drivers. His price is a little high. Starting 28, it's not too bad to give him some position to move up. But he has wrecked in every race they've had this week, both the Unlimited and the dual race. He crashed in both of those and did not finish. So he just might be too much of a risk for me this week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. As far as Truex. He kind of, coming off last year, it was all around pretty positive for him. Coming out of the shadows and moving himself in that 78 Furniture Row car into the limelight. But as far as Daytona goes, he's had some marginal success here. But out of 21 starts, he's only got 2 top 10s, and average finish is 17. With average starting at 17 and average finish at 23rd. So he just doesn't have the history here, and he just doesn't seem like he's comfortable in his car here either. So at that price tag, there's just way better options out there.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jamie. Because I was watching the practices yesterday, and Truex talked about how he's still running the same chassis that they had with the Chevrolets from 2015, but they have Toyota engines and Toyota bodies on there. And he did mention a little bit how that was kind of throwing the team for a loop, engineering-wise. So that might just be something to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it also never hurts to address that he is in his 3rd car now. Like we've already destroyed 2 cars this week, and so you just assume that 3rd car was not set up or not nearly the car they wanted to have here, and they've been working nonstop. They'll get as close as they can. But it's just another factor to avoid a guy that's that expensive, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, guys. With that, it wraps up that part of our show, and we're moving right along to the build a lineup on DraftKings with us. Now, this is going to be a little bit interesting because of to put the DraftKings up here, you're going to lose the picture of everybody. But we'll go ahead and we'll lock in a team, and I will actually be rolling this team. And since I won these tickets in the first shootout race, we'll roll this one for free. As I have a free ticket, we'll roll this in the big dog this week. So, boys, what should we start? Well, let's just play the dilemma that everybody has this week. Do we earn heart or do we not earn heart in this thing?
I think you have to earn heart in this one, maybe. Well, you know what? Let's make a lineup without Dale Jr. so that people can see what you can have without Jr.
All right. So let's do you agree with that, Lear?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. So where do we want to start? Like, none of us seem to be big on Johnson. Harvick, because of the wreck, gets to start at the back.
Let's start with Brad Keselowski. I like Brad Keselowski. I like the spot he's in starting 25th.
All right. We can definitely put him on here at 92. And guys, unlike normal weeks, the salary is quite a bit more flexible this week than normal. Like, you don't have a hard, there's not a hard time squeezing people in here. So
I think we should talk about that a little bit too, because for your returning players from last year, looking at this year's salaries and going, where's the Kevin Harvick at 11,100 or it got crazy there for a little while. But they've definitely gone in there, adjusted the price points, and you can definitely get a lot more of the bigger name, bigger team guys on your roster. And like Papa said, I think earlier, and you can have just that one punt play of somebody that you pick, from the bottom, the D Benedettos or, the Brian Scotts.
This one, you don't need a punt play.
Yeah, exactly. There's just so many different options out there that you can roll with. But my personal one that I want to see on the team is Denny Hamlin. The FedEx number 11. He's been one of the guys to watch. He'll definitely be one of the guys to watch during this season. He ironically, starts at the 11th spot this Sunday, and he's number 11. Hamlin's, out of 20 starts.
Oh, Lear, I missed your cheesiness in the shows.
He's never won at Daytona. And out of those 20 starts, he's got 11 top 10 finishes in the last 4 races at Daytona. He's got some pretty sweet numbers. He started 4th, 37th, 42nd, 35th with finishes in the single digits, boys. 2nd, 6th, 4th, and 3rd. He's led 267 laps out of those 20 starts. He finished strong last week with winning the Sprint Unlimited. So I think he's going to carry some of that momentum too with Joe Gibbs. He will be in the front of the pack majority of the race. And with his cost at only $8,600, frankly, he is definitely undervalued at that price. And based off his price, where he's starting, he'll definitely, I would think, would be a highly owned guy. But it's one of those that could be one of those that just takes you for a loop, and he could be a really low owned percentage guy. So, but I definitely will be plugging Denny Hamlin in the majority of all my lineups this week, and I hope we put him on this one.
Yeah, he'll definitely be in a good amount of my lineups.
Yeah, I went ahead and plugged and played, and we've already got him locked in. Which I guess the way we're kind of doing this means I guess it's my turn to put a guy on the lineup, huh? We got Keselowski, Hamlin. We're at 92, 86.
Maybe get some value in there.
Yeah, we definitely can. I'll see how you are. Leave me from picking a stud.
Oh, you know, we can take your stud. Go ahead and take your stud because we got plenty of value we can pick from.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. You know what? I think since we were avoiding Earnhardt, let's go ahead and take Rowdy and
AGR stack.
Yep. Let's go after it.
Okay.
All right, they'll leave 77 per, guys. Where do we go next?
I can definitely work with that. Let me get Paul Menard.
Paul Menard. We said it earlier briefly. I really like this play this week. It's just one of those plays that over the course of a NASCAR season, you see that these are just the right plays, and these are and it's the right time to make it.
I actually have a personal attachment to Paul Menard because one time I was at a NASCAR race and my dad, he got pretty drunk on some Crown Royal and to the point where he couldn't tell who his favorite driver was anymore. So he saw the neon yellow car on the track, and that was the only one he could keep up with. So Paul Menard's my dad's favorite driver.
Oh, that is freaking awesome!
I'm gonna be rooting for the yellow.
That is a great NASCAR story, dude.
It really is.
All right, Lear.
Although I've personally been in that same situation, but I was way lower to the track, and I missed probably half the race. So.
Yeah, Lear's notorious in for instances like that.
You can't drink wild turkey at 7 a.m. when you go, tailgating for a NASCAR race.
It doesn't sneak up on you because you'll be in the fan zone and they'll be handing out those little tiny Crown Royal shots, and they sneak up on you. I think by lap 200, my dad was in the car with the door open, passed out. That's NASCAR.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, Lear, it's your turn for a value play. We've got, it's not necessarily value. We got 7,900
I think we
left.
should all talk about it, but what do we got left as far as the salary?
7,900. We got 2 spots left. Our lineup looks like this so far: Keselowski, Hamlin, Busch, Menard.
I was just looking at something, and we could go with a super JGR stack if we inserted Casey Mears and they went Matt Kenseth. But he is starting at the back of the pack, and I don't know if that's actually a good choice.
Yeah, I definitely like that strategy too. But
he has to get back to second.
I think Matt Kenseth is one that's very tempting because you think he has a fast car, but I just don't think it works out because he's going to have to lead laps, and he's going to have to avoid all the trouble getting all the way from the back of the pack. So necessarily, I think Casey Mears might be a play you go with if you're trying to build an Earnhardt lineup because he's just so expensive. But at this point, there's a lot of guys, around that 8,000 price point that we could pick. But I mean, Jamie, you just jump in and pick someone that you like.
Honestly, I know he was one of the guys, but I like the value play of Newman. I just don't see where you can't go wrong with taking a guy starting in that 38 spot, and he as far as his price point, it's still going to fit in that lineup.
Yeah, it works.
You don't have to use all your salary when you're guys. Just remember when you're building your lineups, you don't have to use all the salary. It might actually be a good thing to leave some salary on the table because that just kind of guarantees you a little bit that someone probably won't have the same lineup as you.
No, for sure. Especially this week with a lot of people that don't normally do NASCAR jumping into NASCAR. A lot of people will try to spend their entire salary, and that may not be the most effective approach here.
Yes.
So that leaves us 8,300. So basically, Casey Kane on down, and
I'm looking at Eric Almirola. He doesn't seem like such a bad option, starting 34th actually.
Yeah,
I like Almirola this week too.
That was one of the guys I was looking at. Also, what do you like? No, what do you guys like? Why not put Casey Kane on this team?
Casey's gonna be fast. That's a tough one. Casey is just so back and forth, and he was all of last season. You can just never tell if he's actually going to perform. He's starting 13th. There's not much room to move up. He just might be. I don't know. I can't trust Casey Kane yet.
Makes sense, dude. Makes sense. Lear, do you have anybody you like out of there?
And what price point are we at? You said 8,400.
83 below. So Kane on down.
Yeah. As far as that goes, I really don't have one particular person that I like a lot. But also, I mean, we could.
I just had an idea that we could possibly do. We could insert Eric Amarola, and then we could change Brad Keselowski, and we could still get Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, we could do that. We could also insert some Trevor Bayne action.
Did we do?
That's my guy.
Let's roll Amarola and get up to Earnhardt, and that shows everybody like that's how you can do that, right?
That's how you fit Earnhardt into your lineup and don't have any punt plays.
Yeah,
right. I mean, seriously, that's what the Earnhardt Jr. no punt looks like. So we'll go ahead.
Right at $0.
I will go ahead and roll that in since I had a free entry, and that is done.
Can you start from the top and just roll it back? So.
Oh yeah, here. That lineup is Amarola, Busch, Earnhardt Jr., Hamlin, Menard, and Newman.
Kyle Busch, that is.
Yeah, Kyle, of course. Rowdy, of course.
Yeah, I mean, as far as getting that kind of caliber of drivers on one lineup, it doesn't get much better than that.
No, it just seems like there's no worry because usually you'll have a punt play and that's who you're stressing about the whole time. I don't know that you have to worry much because we have a lot of guys starting in the back and we have a lot of guys at the front that are going to lead a lot of laps. So I really like this lineup that we built.
Yeah,
I want my cut.
Yeah.
Well, guys, if that lineup takes down 100K, I will split it 3 ways with you. Like I'll tell you that much.
Well, since I guess we are broadcasting this, there may be a few other people that might have the same lineup.
So you might get a few messages in your inbox after this one.
Well, if
you start throwing out guarantees like that, and people are going to want some of the cut, man.
No. See, that's why I only give a cut to you guys. Like if we're coming up with a lineup with me.
Fair enough.
But if this goes negative for the season, I'm gonna write you guys bills. You guys owe me money on this thing. No,
we'll be negative already, man. It's not a good way to start the season.
All right, guys. With that said, it wraps up a show. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Adrian, let you say goodbye first as our guest. It's been a pleasure having you. And I think this went well enough that Lear and I want to extend the offer to you whenever you're available. We'd love to have you join the show from time to time. And if for some reason one of us can't do it, we'll definitely hit you up to be the fill-in, man.
I would love to do that. Just thank you guys for the opportunity. Like I said, I've watched your show probably since the beginning, and even the Fantasy Football 3-Way. Just anyone watching this video, just head over to fantasydonks.com and check these guys out. You can follow them on Twitter. If you guys want to plug your Twitter handles, mine is at Adrian Woodruff. For having me on the show, and I'm ready to win some money.
Nice.
Let's take down some money. Larry, you can say your goodbyes.
Guys, with this being the inaugural race of the 2016 season, I want to wish everybody a lot of luck this year. As far as, your NASCAR DFS guys, we definitely want to be the guys that you choose for your information this season. Reach out to us if you have any questions, something you want to see in the show or, just anything in general. My Twitter handle is just my name. It's Jamie, Jamie, Lear, Liehr. And I definitely look forward to this 2016 season and just can't wait for Sunday to get here. And it's going to be exciting. And let's do it, boys.
Can't wait.
All right, guys. I think that'll wrap it up for us. Thank you again for watching. It means a lot to us. We really love doing this show and love having you out there. We're going to do something special since this is the first show of the year. If you like subscribe to the Facebook channel, comment on the show on the YouTube channel, on Facebook or on Twitter. We'll enter you, and we'll enter anyone that does that into a free drawing and send out some cool NASCAR memorabilia pieces that we got. We got a couple of little cool cards that have the flame retardant suit pieces in them and stuff. And we'll do some more special giveaways all throughout the course of the season this year in NASCAR. Try to keep you guys happy and in tune, and hopefully we're keeping you mostly happy by winning you money. But in all honesty, I want to win the most, so hopefully it's me winning the most money and you guys taking second and third behind me.
Right, that's not too bad.
Well, that's it, guys. You can follow me at Big Papa DB8 on Twitter, and like, share, favorite like usual. Have a great one, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a great weekend, everybody.